Am I speaking with Annie?
Yes, you are. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Annie, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from California.
Oh, that's right. I did write it down and forgot it.
Hey, it's no big deal. Hey, I appreciate you being able to talk with us and everything for Progulator.com. I really appreciate it. We enjoyed the latest album.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
You guys are doing great things, you know.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions for you. I'd like to talk a little bit about the new album, if you don't mind.
No, no problem.
Awesome. So essentially, you know, the new release Symphony of Light contains most of the same tracks as the Il Grandine e il Vento. But wondering if you could tell our readers a bit about what to expect with the additional tracks on the album.
Yes, it was kind of an odd way to go around doing this. But people have done it. We believe we weren't so sure about doing it. You know, kind of re-releasing it, the same album. But we put the album out ourselves originally, and we couldn't get the. We don't. You know, when you're a band, there's only so much you can do with distribution, and then we had a distribution deal came along, which was very appealing, but they wanted new packaging, and they also wanted 3 bonus tracks. And so that's when everything changed around, and I did the new artwork and everything, because you probably know I'm a painter as well.
Indeed.
And so we added 3 songs. We chose Tonight and Immortal Beloved because we put out in, I think it was 2010, an EP. Unfortunately, we hadn't got the money together then to do the album. We hadn't done our Kickstarter campaign at that point, so we did a limited number of songs. CDs, EPs with the 3 songs on, and 4 songs actually. And so we knew that a lot of people hadn't heard those songs, so that's why we decided to put those 2 on as 2 bonus tracks. And Rafe Tessar, who's I've worked with since 1989, all through my solo career as well, and he's in Renaissance as a keyboard player and the MD and everything, and producer. We decided to write a song dedicated to Michael Dunford, who you probably know we lost in, 2012, which
right.
was completely unexpected and devastating. And so it was appropriate to me to call it Renaissance Man because Michael was known as the Renaissance Man in interviews. I was known as the Renaissance Woman, and the first song on the album, which is called Symphony of Light, is dedicated to another Renaissance man who's Leonardo da Vinci.
Right. And
so it seemed to tie all in together. It seemed to be just right to do it like that. And the lyrics for that song came very, very easily to me. I wouldn't say that I'm a seasoned songwriter by any stretch of the imagination. I think I did well. Mickey was, very happy with what I did on this album, and I've never tried to be like Betty Thatcher or anything like that, or be better or whatever, because. Sure. Everybody's got their own style, and Betty was a poet, and she was a seasoned writer and a brilliant writer, and that was her thing. That was her. But I've got 3 different facets to me, really. Well, two major ones, which is singing and painting, and then the songwriting really is the third. But it's not. It's sometimes the songs come very easily, like Symphony of Light came easily, Grandine e il Vento came easily, Blood Silver came very easily, Mystic in the Muse did, so some of the others they weren't difficult, but they just flew right out of me, which is great when that happens, because I don't expect it, because I don't say that I'm a songwriter,
Well,
you know what I mean?
You're doing a great job,
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
He fell from us, he left so fast. In dreams he comes to soothe our hearts. his quiet voice, a cherished smile forever, on through the wind, always the rain, listening to...
The main thing is that Mickey, because he's worked with a lot of different lyricists in his time, particularly with his musical that unfortunately never saw the light of day, which is very sad, that it was just fraught with a lot of problems and it never came to pass. It was a wonderful, it was going to be about Scheherazade,
right?
Called Scheherazade, and to make him happy was the number one thing, to make him happy with what I'd done with the music, what I'd portrayed with it. So he was happy with that, and I think that Rave Tessar, because he'd been with my band since 1989, when we were still, in my band we were playing Renaissance music as well as my solo albums, because I've got some solo albums out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew the music back to front. He'd been playing it for many years, so he knew how Michael created his songs. Basically, he just knew, and so it's such a Michael Dunford feeling song. The music, I think,
right,
that he wrote perfectly for the tribute song.
Very cool, very cool. Well, I love the last tracks on the album. The bonus tracks. I think it was a great addition. Great tribute to Michael Dunford, and so I was very pleased with that. So let's talk a little bit about the album in general terms. I guess in your opinion, I'm wondering first if you could give us a little bit of an overview of the record as a whole, and then maybe let us know, in your opinion, what sets it apart from other Renaissance albums of the past.
Well, the first thing is that this was in 2012. We wanted desperately to do a new album, and we just, it's like a lot of bands, particularly heritage bands, to get the money together when you're still trying to survive doing other things, is very difficult. And a couple of friends of mine, Tom Brislin, and who had been in Renaissance, he joined us when we did the reunion in 2009, and he and another friend of mine, Jan Close, who's a singer-songwriter, had just done in 2012 and 2011, 2012, their own Kickstarter campaigns to raise funds. And, Mickey and I talked about it, and we thought, we don't like to do this. Is it right to ask for money from the fans, And it was very difficult to do it, to be honest. And but it's amazing how many people wanted to help, and they wanted new music. So a lot of people donated money, pledged money for all different kinds of things, like a painted guitar by me, and somebody bought one of Michael's guitars. And so, or things like lots of different things that we were giving for pledges, and we raised a good amount of money to take us into the studio, bring Michael over, and start writing it in June. And we started at the end of June, beginning of July. We started to record it in Rave Tessar studio, actually in New Jersey, and so. We were very happy with it. Michael and I had not really written together before, except on an album called Tuscany. I don't know if you know that album. That came out in 2001, and that was kind of an odd. It was kind of an odd album. Mickey rang me up and said, why don't we do it? Oh, you know what? It wasn't. It was the other way around for that one. I think I called him up and said, why don't we do an album? And, just do one album, a one-off album, and see if we can get the funds together to do that. And we did back then. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. But it was kind of odd because it was, we decided we used John Terry and Michael and myself. And Roy Wood came in as well. It was an interesting combination of people. And then John Tatt kind of dropped out, unfortunately, halfway through it. And then we had to find somebody else, so we brought in Mickey Simmons, who was excellent. And then Roy couldn't do any more either, so we just carried on with what we had, and we had a bass player coming called Alex Caird. He was excellent, and so it was kind of an odd album, but it was interesting. I mean, there were some interesting songs on there, and that's the first time really that I'd started writing with Mickey, and so I was excited to know that I was going to be doing the new one, but a bit hesitant as well, thinking, oh gosh, because people are really going to look at this as it's the first studio album in 13 years, and we wanted everybody to experience this new band that we have because they're incredible musicians, and so a lot was riding on this, really, more so because of the fans than anything else. It's all down to the fans. In the end, it's all down to fans because the fans are the ones who put you there in the first place. You know, people forget that, don't they? Really, but when they have concerts where they put the tickets so high that the fans who put them there can't even go and see them, I don't get that. But but anyway, so. Yeah, so we did that because we lost Mickey. I broke my back that year as well. I ended up with in a brace for 9 months. Horrible. It was a very odd year. It was like it was very bittersweet. It was wonderful, and then it ended in tragedy. But I know that when you know, Michael and I were writing the songs and when we were recording them, we both felt that they would really hold up well against. You can't. I'm not saying anything's better because it's different. You know that you can't.
Right.
If everybody said, well, we want you to do another Turn of the Cards, well, we couldn't do it because it's different people in the band. The band back then were very special, and that's what made the sound of the band then.
Sure.
You know, it was a special time. There's no doubt about it, and you can't capture that again because you don't have the same people. I mean, these people are wonderful, but they're not the same people. And although when we went out with 5 people originally, we only had one synthesizer on stage and one keyboard player, and he was like a magician. I don't know how he did it. So if you take me out of the picture because I don't play an instrument, we had to perform all those songs like Mother Russia and all the big epics with just 4 musicians.
Wow! And
it was really amazing how that happened. And how they did it. They did an amazing job. And now we have 6 people in the band. We have 2 keyboard players, and we have all up to date all the technical stuff and computers and whatever we need. And it sounds like full orchestra now. And a little bit of weight has been taken off me.
Sure.
Because when it was just the 5 of us, I would take quite a few bits of like flute parts and all different things and start singing them. That's how that started off, you know, me doing more vocalese. Now I can hold back and we can you can hear the real orchestra doing the beautiful French horn parts and the flute parts, and it's so full that it kind of, you know, just fills you up when you hear it. It's incredible, you know. So to do an album and to have these musicians on the new album was very special and very important that this happened, even if it was only going to be once. We didn't know how it would carry on after that. We didn't know, but we at least wanted to get this down in the history of Renaissance. This band is just fantastic. And then some of the songs Mickey was still writing when we were rehearsing the other ones and recording. It was crazy. but he had a young family and a lot on his plate, but it worked. He had a couple of songs that we used the music, some of the music that he had written for the musical that he wasn't going, that he'd rejected himself, was going to replace it with something else, and we loved it, and that's what we put in the Mystic and the Muse.
Very cool.
Yeah, Mystic and the Muse, and also Symphony of Light. Part of that is, and I think maybe Blood Silver. There's a piece in that, but Blood Silver. It was pretty simple, and I think that Mickey just gave it to Rave and said, see what you can do with it. And so Rave did all the arrangements just for piano, and we decided just to do it with piano and voice. And then when I'd written the words, it was an obvious choice for me to bring in my friend John Wetton,
For sure.
So that's how that happened. So I think we recorded it probably different than any of the old Renaissance albums, because with the old Renaissance albums, we had big record companies behind us. They paid for rehearsals. We'd go and write everything, rehearse it for weeks before we recorded it. And, we didn't have that luxury this time to do that, but it still came out fantastic.
Right.
And, John Wetton said to me a few weeks ago, actually, he said, he said, I just had a time to listen through the whole album. He said, I think it's great. And he said, every song's different, but it all gels together. And it does. They're all so different from each other.
Very true.
But they all work. They're all captivating. So they're like little chapters, really. You just finish one, and then something else happens, and it takes you somewhere else to another country or whatever, but it still works.
Very true. It's funny you mentioned some of these things, because a lot of them I was thinking the same thing. For example, you're talking about the Mystic and the Muse and Symphony of Light, and their them being from I guess from musical works that were before. When I was listening to those, I was like, wow, these are like huge theatrical songs,
Yeah.
And I think you're talking about Turn of the Cards and some of these older albums and stuff, but I think in terms of capturing that same essence of what you guys do, the big epic kind of dramatic songs, and then some of the shorter, more catchy songs, but still very artistic. I think it's all there, and it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, I think it did.
My situation and my dreaming are all one. Hear the fanfare of the dawn, a lesson that was waiting to be learned from the mystic and the muse. From the mystic and the muse.
And when we first did, we first recorded Mystic and the Muse, we first played it, we went on tour with Steve Hackett. It was great. What a great bill that was. And it was like no egos. It was just wonderful. It was, sometimes we had some not difficult with people at all, just equipment-wise, because it was two bands on one stage, a lot of equipment. But and when we got to play... well, the first time we did Mystic and the Muse, which we decided to put at the end of the show because we felt it was really powerful, people had their mouths open. They just had a standing ovation for the first time that we played it.
I can imagine.
And also Symphony of Light, same thing. Same thing with Symphony of Light. It's just so powerful.
Indeed.
And that, Mickey's heart was in, he loved Renaissance, but his heart was really into that musical, and it was so sad that it never came to fruition. And
right. So speaking of live performance, is there a particular track on the new record that you enjoy performing, let's say, more than others?
Yes, Symphony of Light.
And could you explain a little bit what is it about that song and the performance that grabs you?
Well, it's about Leonardo da Vinci, who I admire, and of course I love his paintings, and I feel very connected to him as a painter, as a spirit. He was a vegetarian like me. He was a singer as well as a painter. He used to buy caged animals and set them free. I mean, he has so many things that I feel connected to him. But his painting is just there's nothing like it. But it's not so much that; it's his spirit, which I think is he was connected to everything. He was connected to the universe. He was connected to everything. I mean, he could do anything. When I first came up with the idea to write a song about him, I mentioned it to Mickey. I should say Michael, because he used to hit me every time I said Mickey. He was Mickey in the 70s and 80s, but then he wanted me to say, don't call me Mickey, call me Michael. Anyway, I'm going to call him Mickey because he's probably listening and laughing now. But
for sure.
So I said, I really would like to write a song about Leonardo da Vinci. And he said, no, it's too literal. I said, okay. And Rafe was standing behind him, and he was smiling because he knew what I was going to do next. I said, listen to this. I went, starry, starry night, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. He said, oh, yeah. I said, do you know who that song is about? No. I said, it's about Vincent van Gogh. And I said, the song's called Vincent. And Ray was laughing his head off, and he said, yeah, nodding, you're right.
Very nice.
It doesn't matter. Why does it matter anyway? Because it's all art. The older I get, the more I think about things like that. I'm getting more open-minded about a lot of things because it's art and it's your expression of it. So why does it have to? There can't be any rules for anything. Indeed. Really. To do with creation and art. So anyway, he said he still said no. Not so much so, but what I did, I have a really big book of the complete paintings. His paintings, Leonardo's paintings, is a gorgeous book. Mm-hmm. I put it in the control room and I left it in there for everybody to see. From that day on, the next day on, I had it with me actually. I wasn't stupid. And then, so I was just waiting for the piece of music to come along that was going to be it, and he had this music that he started to play, and it was very simple. I'm trying to remember if he'd just done it in GarageBand himself, or whether it was he'd done it. He might have put it down very bare bones. This was the beginning part, the prelude at the beginning, and I asked Ray to put that on a tape for me because that night I was going home. Mickey was going to stay in the hotel. I was going to drive back home here, and I had to keep stopping all the way home and writing it down because it flooded into my mind. The music, all I could see coming home was Leonardo da Vinci in the last 2 years of his life, where he lived with the King of France. The King of France gave him an apartment to live out his days in, and he treated him like his own father, apparently. And so I had this vision of Leonardo with his long grey hair, waking up in the morning and going up to these very, really heavy, dark red velvet curtains, right, and pulling them open, and then the light coming in, the light from the universe just pouring into him, because he was so connected. It would just pour into him, and vice versa. Maybe it was pouring out of him as well, because he was that connected, or is connected. I mean, he's around, his spirit's around. And so by the time I got home, I'd got all the words. So I called him at the hotel and said, Mickey, I got the words, listen to these. And he loved them. He loved them.
Very cool.
And then the rest of the music was just perfect for the story of Leonardo. And in the middle part, it gets kind of a little frantic, and that's where what I could see was that when he put his painting on one side to do the weapons of war, he was. He obviously he must have felt very different inside to be doing that, but he did it, and the man was a genius. I mean, these things, wherever he was tapping into, these things were pouring into him, and he was coming up with all these unbelievable ideas. And then, so that's why in the middle of the song, where Mickey's guitar solo is, the acoustic guitar solo, that's where he's like, you know, he's churning away, he's coming up with these ideas and these inventions. And then at the end of that part, where it goes into the last verse, just before it goes into the last verse, it swells up into this big orchestra thing, which, oh my God, I wish we could have recorded that for 10 minutes. I love it so much. But when he gets to that part, that's where he starts painting again. So next time you listen to that, if you just bear that in your mind, then you can see it immediately. And that's, cool. Yeah, oh. And tell people on stage, you know, and they were just floored by people they would come back for autographs and they just say, oh my God, that we loved that song, you know, it's beautiful. And it is, it's one of my favorites, my Renaissance favorite right now, of all of them, of Very everything, cool. Of everything. You know, it's very powerful. It's got a very powerful spirit in it. You know, he was a very powerful man, and it was all coming from the universe and beyond, wherever else anything good comes from. You know, it was all creative stuff.
Thoughts of tomorrow